Well, coronavirus has created a new normal for all of us, and that has many of you wondering what your job has to do to protect you. So right now, Matthew Harbin is once again joining us here to help answer your questions about workplace practices and issues. And so here is one of the questions. It says, is my boss required to tell me if a coworker tests positive for coronavirus?
The answer to that is going to be typically no. There's no current requirement that they tell you someone else tested positive. There are some guidelines. If you believe someone tested positive, I think the best approach would be to go to your doctor, and your doctor's likely to tell you to self-quarantine, which is going to allow you to potentially take some time off if you're concerned about the work environment. But there's no requirement that they let you know that, as I understand it, that they let you know someone has tested positive.
Gotcha. Someone is asking, can my work legally fire me if I'm uncomfortable with their lack of safety precautions during coronavirus?
Yeah, and that's a hard situation. So there are sort of 6 categories where someone can qualify for leave. And if they don't fall into one of those 6 categories and they're worried about the workplace, and they don't want to go in, their employer can potentially fire them. And not only that, they could lose eligibility for unemployment. The answer to it is yes, they can. Now, is there a real reason that you're concerned? Are there maybe guidelines that they've been told they should follow? I mean, that's something that would you may need to look at to see whether there's potential eligibility for unemployment, and it might be something that is worth pursuing. But yes, the answer to that is yes, currently they could do that.
Can I get workers' compensation if I get COVID at work?
Again, it's a complex question, and it's really going to look at what is the nature of your work. Is there something about your job that puts you more at risk than the general public for contracting the condition? I think certain occupations are probably going to potentially have claims, but it's going to become a very fact-specific inquiry. I think for most people, there's going to be some protection under the federal leave bill that's going to allow them to sort of get the coverage they need. If they just need to quarantine, if they recover without hospitalization, I think hopefully that's most people that contract it, then there's going to be coverage through the 2 weeks of leave that you'd be able to get. That would hopefully avoid, having to fight potentially with your employer over it.
Gotcha. Someone is saying, I lost my job due to changes from coronavirus. Can my former employer refuse to pay me for unused vacation time?
So they have to pay you under state law. They have to pay you for vacation pay as they would normally pay someone. So in most cases, the answer is they cannot just refuse to pay you. Again, if there's been some downturn, you are going to be eligible for unemployment benefits. There is a federal booster for that unemployment benefits that is up to, I think, $600 a week in additional benefits under unemployment. But in most cases, if your employer says, I'm not going to pay you this earned benefit, this earned vacation pay, then they are running afoul of state law in North Carolina.
And someone should do what if that is happening? They should make a complaint with the labor board?
They can contact the North Carolina Department of Labor, and the folks at the Department of Labor will help people file wage complaints. The other option is to contact an attorney and to see if they can pursue a potential lawsuit. But for most people, if they contact the Department of Labor, that's sometimes something that can a way to resolve it without filing a lawsuit.
Gotcha. Someone is asking, my employer now requires us to work weekends. We were once Monday through Friday before COVID. Is this legal?
Yes. I mean, if they're saying they have a need and they can do it, yeah, they can make you, work the hours. Now they have to compensate you. They'll have to pay you overtime if you're working more hours, but they can, make you work as their business demands.
This person says, if I'm a nurse and I contract COVID at work, am I entitled to compensation?
Yeah, and that's, I think nurses and healthcare practitioners are going to be among the people that are going to have potential claims, because I think the workplace places them at potentially greater risk, and that's something to prove a claim you'd have to prove in North Carolina, and I think it's something that is probably those are the people that will have potential claims. I'm hoping for most of them, if you're a nurse, that you can take the time off and get better without going to the hospital. But if it's serious and you're, hospitalized and there's permanent consequences to it, then certainly you should talk to an attorney about whether you should pursue a claim.
All right, someone's asking, are businesses required to supply cleaning supplies for workers to use at work?
So right now there's only OSHA guidelines with respect to what they should do with regard to COVID. So unless it's they were already required to provide some cleaning supplies because of the nature of your workplace, then under current law, there's no extra requirements. So the answer to that is no. I think most employers are trying to clean and provide cleaning supplies, but there's no requirement. I think you had the question about hand sanitizer. There's no requirement that they provide that under current federal guidelines.
Gotcha. And someone was asking, can I not go to work if I'm afraid to be sick? And the answer is yes. We did talk about that you can be at the FMLA for that. All right.
Yeah, and again, there's people that have a real anxiety that is based in fact, I think, in terms of, pre-existing healthcare condition, age, all these other factors that may make you more at risk. And if you combine that with an employment situation that may place you in contact with the general public, those are people that can go potentially to their doctor, talk about it, get a note, and that would potentially allow you to get federal leave.
Right.
There is an exception for healthcare workers who, the employer can decide to exempt them and require them to attend. But for people in that situation, if you have anxiety, like, I talked to someone today who has, family member has asthma, go talk to your doctor about it, see if you can get a note.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you so much for answering so many of our text questions, and thank you for texting those in. Again, these will be online so that you'll be able to review them again and be able to talk with your friends and family about them.